All right, let's talk about alternate recipes for your iron ingots, copper, Caterium, steel, quartz. There's a lot to talk about. I am a huge fan of alternate recipes, and I use them all throughout my factory. I'm Thor the Undead. I play video games on the internet. We stream Satisfactory every Friday night on my Twitch channel. Links below, all that. Let's get into it. So, starting off talking about the pure iron ingot. Now, really, once I unlock this in any map that I'm in, and I get refineries, and I unlock it in the MAM, it's my bread and butter. This is what I use for like everything at that point. As you can see, I'm a big fan of refineries. I use a good number of them in my factory. Like once I unlock this, my whole life becomes 65 ingots per minute. You put 35 iron in, you get 65 out. You add water, you add extra power. Now here that says 60 megawatts, it's usually 30. We're on a 2x map. With the new 1.2 multipliers, I went 2x on the requirements and 50x on the elevator, but the 2x on the power. So that's why that looks a little weird to you potentially. But anyway, you add water, you add power, you get a lot more for your input. And especially if you're in some obscure part of the map, it really ends up working out. And you don't have to build as many smelters for it. A smelter is going to give you 1-to-1, but you're going to get so much more out of the pure iron ingot. And then, like I said, it kind of turns my whole life into multiples of 65. So a good example is I've got this one right over here is going to one of my modular frame small like mini factories, which is a blueprint that I use. It takes 272 iron ingots, which is like 4.1 refineries, and then the extra gets bled off to either it goes to my dimensional depots to feed the basics, or it will get thrown in the sink even, but sometimes I'll grab it for another project or send it somewhere. It just depends. I always know I've got a little bit here and there left over, or sometimes it ends up just backing up really hard and I have to do something about it later. But that's what I want to talk about with iron. I also use the pure Caterium. This one is even more useful because the Caterium, it's like 3-to-1, 3 ore to 1 ingot when you use a smelter, but it's 2-to-1 with the pure Caterium ingot, and that's huge. It ends up saving you a lot, and there's only so much Caterium on the map, so this is almost a must. Right now it's a little backed up. I actually broke that product line, but that's a different story for a different day. Also, let's talk about copper. Copper, it gets even better because you can do the pure copper. As you can see, I haven't fully filled this one out yet. I have to multiply the nearby pure node, but right now I'm using it mostly for these rows, and that's going to give you 6 to 15. So that's more than 1-to-2 ratio, which is like incredible. So anyway, that's gonna, it only uses a little bit of water. That's gonna really multiply the efficiency of your copper. And then I go straight to the steamed copper sheets, which ends up being like a 1-to-1, which is huge. And effectively, I only end up using copper for the sheets and then for copper powder later, which is another reason to use these alternate recipes, because you need so much copper. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We have some other alternate recipes to talk about, and we're gonna head on over to my Dune Desert factory and we can talk about that. But before we head over there, I do want to also talk about pure quartz, which is, again, you add water, you add extra power, and you get more. So 9 becomes 7, which is way better than you're going to get just running it through a regular old constructor. So again, don't discount the pure recipes. They are incredible. But let's head over to the Dune Desert and I'll show you some other alternate recipes that I like to use. And of course, while we're soaring majestically, we can take a moment to admire my Sears Tower. I'm Chicago born and bred, so that's made with love. And then of course I've got my gigantic rocket fuel power plant over there. And then, of course, we got the nuclear power plant over there and the reprocessing. But anyway, we're headed over here to the Dune Desert factory. Some of you might remember this from the 120 motors per minute video that I put out recently. But we're down here to talk about the alternate recipes. So, of course, lots of copper powder getting produced over here as I'm running into the wall. But yeah, this is all of this is for copper powder. Now over here, because I didn't have as much access to water and it was a little bit more convenient to do it this way, I'm actually using the copper alloy ingot, which uses iron to increase it. So you get like a 1-to-2 ratio with this as well, but it uses iron to do it. And there's just so much iron in the Dune Desert. It was just a convenient way to do it. It doesn't use as much power. And also, it's much more compact. It doesn't use a sea of refineries like I'm using over there to provide enough iron for the motor factory. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is my steel processing. This one is pretty common. A lot of people know about this one. The solid steel ingot is just way better. The original steel recipe uses 3 iron, 3 coal, and you get 3 ingots. So it's like a 1-to-1 with 2 different products, and it comes out at 45 per minute. But if you use the solid steel ingot, you have to make the iron ingots first, but then it goes two iron, 2 coal, and you get 3 ingots. So it's a 2 to 3 ratio, which is a lot more efficient, and it comes out at 60 per minute, which is nice, but also 40 per minute in, which is easier to divide across a node. So if you're pulling 240 off of a pure node with a Mark II miner, you can get 6 foundries and you're done. You don't have to do any more math than that. You don't have to overclock or underclock anything. All right, so that's going to do it for this one. I just wanted to give you guys a brief kind of idea of what's behind my methodology with the alternate recipes. Again, once you unlock them, which I highly recommend doing as soon as possible, you really increase your efficiency. And not only that, it gets really easy to kind of send your products around the map and figure out how much you're going to need. You know, you can break it down again by like 65 out on the iron ingots, and you can run the refineries all in one place. I like to put it on the bottom floor of my factory right above some water, and then you can send them all across the map for whatever you need to build. Anything else you want to talk about, hit me up in the comments. You can also come by the stream every Friday night, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I stream Satisfactory for 12 hours. A little bit more later on the weekend as well, sometimes Sunday after our horror games. I don't just play Satisfactory, I do play other games on the stream. But again, that's all I got for you today. Good luck, have fun, good game, and happy building.